Hello everybody, my name is Lynn Ma and I'm a senior lecturer in ESOL at Glasgow Clyde College, and I have particular responsibility for working with young asylum seekers and refugees and trafficked people. So today I'm just going to be talking about the background to our project and some lessons that we've learnt over the last 10 years about the particular issues that are important to this group of learners as opposed to adult learners. A little bit of background to the 16 Plus programme. We've been running for more than 10 years now. Large numbers of unaccompanied asylum seekers and refugees arriving in Glasgow over 10 years ago made us as a college think about what our response could be to that group of learners. Although I've said they're unaccompanied, increasingly we do have young people who are here with their families on family reunions or are coming as a whole family who've got refugee status. We recognise that there was a need for a different kind of provision for this group, that they don't fit into an adult curriculum very well, and they are very often too old to go to school, or their language levels are too low to be able to help them access school provision and variety of subjects. So as I've said, over the last 3 years, we've had up to 300 young people, and currently in the programme this academic year, we have about 70 young people. So why did we need a different kind of provision? Well, unlike adults, very often this group of young people have had either no education or a very fractured educational journey. They often haven't had any employment unless they've worked for parents or in a family business. They have multiple levels of trauma and loss, and again, that's common with adult refugees as well, but with this group of young people that manifests itself in very different ways. Just like young people in school or in college, they have a need to be with their own peer group and with people that understand their own experiences. And most importantly, the traditional ESOL curriculum doesn't really meet the needs of this group of young people. Primarily because very often the ESOL curriculum is aimed at adults. It's got, for example, things about finding work, the work experience, and EFL, English as a Foreign Language material for teenagers, is often aimed at a very different client group of young Europeans. So it'll have, for example, activities about booking a holiday, going on a gap year, going to a restaurant, not appropriate for our group of learners at all. Additionally, it's also about preparing this group of young people to move on after they've finished at ESOL learning, and where are they going to move on to, whether that's further study or employment. So our response to the needs of this group is threefold. Firstly, it's about working in partnership. We work with all the agencies that work with this group of young people. So social work department will make referrals to me for the 16 Plus programme, and all the other agencies that you can see listed there will also contact me, and I will contact them. If a young person drops out of college, isn't coming very often, if we notice a problem with their behaviour, in a way like a guidance teacher would do in a school, that's my role and the role of the other teachers on this programme. We have a very flexible curriculum, so it's very important that the group of learners get qualifications, but they also need to learn in other ways as well. So for example, we do the John Muir Trust Conservation Awards, we do outdoor learning. When I said we have an arts-based pedagogy, what I mean by that is we use drama, music, art as a way of both encouraging language but encouraging expression for this group of young people. We have outside visitors coming into the college, like Police Scotland, very important for this group of young people to understand what exactly are they allowed to do in Scotland and what are they not allowed to do, what's legal, what isn't legal, where do they go for help if they need it. And of course, extensive guidance. They are taught as a peer group. So this year we have 2 classes of 25 young people. between the ages of 16 and 20, and other young people at other levels in the college. And also, because in a way a similar program to a school, there are 2 teachers who teach this class for a whole academic year. So we have 2 levels of 16 plus, which are usually based on language level, but very flexible. And 2 teachers will teach each class for 1 academic year. So in that year, the students get to know us very well, and hopefully we get to know them so that we can be responding to what they need. Important background issues. This is true of all refugees and asylum seekers. There is a history of trauma. But for young people, that trauma can show itself in very different ways. The difficult journeys that they have made to get to the UK, I'm sure everybody's aware of those, but for many young people that has meant that might be physical health problems, but certainly mental health problems as a result of those journeys. Young people have to come to tell their story over and over again, and sometimes they're not believed, their age is not believed, their story is not believed. The loss of everything that they know in terms of their cultural references, their family, their friends, and uncertainty about what's happened to people that they've left back at home or what's going to happen to them in the future has a big impact on their ability to learn. The unfamiliarity with the education, the Scottish education system, can be a real barrier for this group of learners. They don't know what they need, what qualifications they need to get. They don't know how to access them. And I've already mentioned the fractured or no learning experience. And on top of that, they're just ordinary adolescents with all the stuff that goes with that in terms of their hormones, in terms of not going to sleep or sleeping too much or not eating properly, etc., etc. And in terms of teaching this group of young people, there are many implications for the teacher or the support staff. Attendance and timekeeping. Young people have a lot of appointments, lawyers' appointments, social work appointments, housing appointments, doctors' appointments. That can have a big impact on their attendance. Timekeeping, not being able to sleep, getting up late, missing the bus, all those things that are normal for young people, but for this group of young people can sometimes be a barrier. The structure of the day, if they're here unaccompanied, which a lot of the young people that I work with are, there is nobody knocking at the door saying it's time to get up, have your breakfast, have you done your homework, etc., etc. And sometimes the impact of trauma can manifest itself in behaviour. So for example, we can have young people who are looking out the window, looking into space. Sometimes that can be just because they're looking into space. Sometimes it's because they're suffering from post-traumatic stress. That's a big thing to bear in mind when we're teaching this group of young people, and how to help them to make that transition from ESOL. Very often young people will say to me, I want to be a doctor. How long is it going to take me to be a doctor? And I'll say, well, you're in the beginners class, so I think it's going to take you quite a long time. Maybe you need to think about some other things that you might want to be able to do that are a bit more realistic. So it's also about helping young people decide actually what is possible for them at this point in their life and how long is it going to take. So in terms of the lessons that we've learned, the quote there, "We came here broken," comes from a young person that I worked with, who I'm glad to say is now in his final year at university at Glasgow Caledonian. And whenever I talk to people about this group of young people, I always try and ask them, what do they want me to say? And that's what he said. I want you to say that we came here broken. We all make assumptions, particularly we make assumptions about that question, what do you want to do in the future? For lots of these young people, that is not only a difficult but an impossible question, probably because they don't know what they can do, what is possible, also because nobody's ever asked them that question before, and they're standing on very shaky ground in terms of where they're going to be, even in the next year, it's 2 years. The second point about establishing a safe place and secure place to learn, we have found that that has been one of the most important things that people have talked about as a result of being educated together, and people realizing that actually without that, then learning doesn't take place. That comes from stability and consistency. Sorry about the microphone. Learning style. This is also a very important assumption that we all make, that it's independent is perfectly normal and that everybody knows how to do it. But if you come from a culture where everything is communal, then actually that's not normal for you. That's not actually something that you know how to do. And the effect of trauma and loss, obviously, I've already mentioned that. Lots of people want this group of young people to integrate, to make Scottish friends, to volunteer, to get jobs. And of course, that's what they want as well. But integration is not just about a language level. It's also about feeling confident, secure, and safe in yourself, and that takes time. So finally, just to say, the positive value of education, this is what young people tell us that they feel about education. That it helps them to rebuild their lives, that it helps them to think about what they might do in the future. That it also is a place they can go and be secure and have an opportunity to mix with other young people and to not think about the traumatic memories that they deal with every day. And finally, just to say, I spoke to my class before I was coming here today and asked them what they wanted me to tell you, and they said, please say, thanks to Scotland for everything that we have been given. I hope we have this freedom all over the world. And that's from a young Afghani man called Shehzad Khan, who's in my class, who's 17. And he came here 2 years ago, and he is doing really, really well. But he wanted people to know that actually young people are really grateful for everything that they get here. Thank you.